Hey guys, we are on day 167 of our Bible reading plan, and today we're reading in the book of 1 Chronicles chapter 8 and 1 Kings chapter 9. Now, 1 Chronicles 8 is still going through the genealogies, and so we're reading here. We've just read in chapter 7 many of the genealogies of the tribes of Jacob, and here we're going to focus in on the tribe of Benjamin and the genealogy of Benjamin. King Saul is from the line of Benjamin, and so from here we're going to sort of continue focusing in on the kings of Israel and their lines and their genealogies. Then in 1 Kings chapter 9, we're going to read an account of the Lord appearing to Solomon after he's dedicated the temple. The Lord is going to tell him that as long as he follows all of the decrees and commands of the Lord and lives in an upright way, that the Lord will bless him. But it does say he gives Solomon a stern warning here. He says, "If you or your descendants turn away from me and do not observe the commands and decrees I've given you, and go off to serve other gods and worship them, then I will cut off Israel from the land I have given them, and I will reject this temple I have consecrated for my name. Israel will become a byword and an object of ridicule among all of the peoples. This temple will become a heap of rubble." And so from here, then we have in chapter 9 an account of some of Solomon's other activities. We read that he conscripts slaves for the building of the temple, for the building of his palace, for the building essentially of his entire kingdom. He's going to enslave all of the peoples that were still left in the land, the foreigners living among them. The Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites are all conscripted into slavery to do the work of building his kingdom. And in verse 21 we read that Solomon conscripted the descendants of all these peoples remaining in the land, whom the Israelites could not exterminate, to serve as slave labor, as it is to this day. And then in verse 22 it says, "But Solomon did not make slaves of any of the Israelites." And then we read about Pharaoh's daughter coming to live in her palace that Solomon has given him, that 3 times a year Solomon offers sacrifices and still worships the Lord. It seems that he's still on the right path, but right here we're starting to get the sense already that all is not right in King Solomon's heart, that something is off. And the reason that we know this is because Solomon is conscripting slaves to do the work of building the kingdom. And this is a problem because if you remember when we read through the book of Leviticus 19:33 through 34 says that when a foreigner lives among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God." And already we have this sense that as Solomon is building his kingdom, he is forgetting the story, he's forgetting his history, he's forgetting the things that the Lord has decreed for him to do and the ways that the Lord has called him to live, his treatment of the foreigner among him. He is beginning to look much more like Pharaoh, enslaving the Israelites to do the work of building the kingdom of Pharaoh, than he is looking like the king that God has called to lead his people in a certain way. There's just these little things that are going to start to happen as we're reading through the book of Kings. We're going to see sort of where Solomon goes wrong. Even though Solomon was given godly wisdom, even though the Lord did bless him, he is still given the same warning. And it's the same warning that we all have been given, is that the Lord desires that we would obey his commands, that we would follow his decrees, that we would love him and honor him in the way that we live. And even in this way, his treatment of the foreigner, it's meant to be a sign that as king, as a representative of Yahweh to all of the nations, that he would have been different. He would have been a different type of king, one that did not abuse or misuse the foreigner living among them, but treated them well. And it's a call that was for Israel then. It's a call that is for us today. You know, as Christians, not everyone around us believes what we believe about God, and we live in the same community, we live in the same culture as them. We're called to love them as one of us as well. And we're called to show God's love and God's glory and God's greatness in all of the ways that we interact with them and in our treatment of them. It's just a reminder today to remember that the Lord has called you, even in your treatment of others, to be kind, to be gracious, to be loving, to treat them as you would another Christian, as you would someone who does have faith and who does believe. You would treat that foreigner that person who doesn't have the same faith in your God with that same courtesy and kindness. That is one of the ways that we live as children of God in this world, and that we show the love of Christ and the love of God to everyone around us. I hope that encourages you today. Have a great day, guys. I'd love to hear what stood out to you in the scriptures in our Bible reading plan, so comment in the app and let's talk some more about this there.